highly motivated Gen Y individuals who are defining new ways to make open collaboration a fun and rewarding experience for motivated people and creative businesses.
All right, well, Riley Gibson, thanks for being willing to have an interview for the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Tell me something about Napkin Labs. What is it and what's the business model for it?
Yeah, so Napkin Labs connects companies to communities of consumers and experts around the world to help them solve problems and help them accelerate the innovation process.
This is open innovation, is that right?
Yeah. So we have a software platform that really connects these companies with these communities and allows these communities to collaborate with companies in this digital space to solve problems. So our core business is this technology, but we also curate a global community to instantly plug into these companies.
So you're not just a company providing services to connect people together. You do that, but you actually have specific software written to do this in a more efficient way.
Yes.
Okay, and so what's the business model for that?
So, yeah, so we charge clients to post projects on the platform and then charge them to access the community. And then as they sort of work with this system and grow comfortable with it, then they can take the platform on their own and start forming their own communities around it. And those can be branded environments. So those are really our two revenue sources.
Okay, so there are other companies around doing this kind of work. What's more specifically the difference between what Napkin Labs is doing and what some of these other companies are doing?
Yeah, so there are a lot of companies in the open innovation space, and they're mostly transactional in nature. So companies can post projects, and then communities can essentially, on their own, in their own silo, submit a solution. But our feeling is that 80% of the value is missed within that system. Collaboration is when really powerful innovation happens. So the key differentiator for our platform is that it can facilitate a collaborative process, which, if you're tapping into minds around the world, can be a pretty chaotic process. So we also have modules that can take the community through a workflow. So you can sort of harness that chaotic energy that produces real innovation, but also have a process that gets you really actionable results.
So does this software, is it sort of like very problem or project specific? It's not some sort of global thing like SharePoint or Jive or whatnot that you put in a massive way. It's sort of meant for a very specific purpose, and you can carve out and say, now we're going to use this community and invite people from this community to solve this problem. Is that?
Yeah, so the platform can house the community in sort of one central place, similar to Facebook. And then companies can, in 30 minutes, they can post a new problem. And that gets a specific project workspace that the community can come in and work on a specific problem.
So I noticed on your brochure, or actually your website, you talk about Gen Y, and Gen Y is the kind of people that contribute in the communities, and that's what you're aiming at. So what about people that are not Gen Y?
Obviously, we're from Gen Y.
Yeah.
Gen Y it's an inherently collaborative generation. People are very comfortable with going online and sharing ideas with people they've never met from Lithuania or wherever it may be.
Yeah.
So it's low-hanging fruit for us in terms of the community. And then we also, from our previous experience working with Fortune 500 companies on new product development, a lot of those companies are realizing this Gen Y market as a huge opportunity. But it takes such a different model to really create products for that generation that it, on the company side, it was also low-hanging fruit. So it makes perfect sense as a starting point, although we're starting to grow into different areas.
That makes sense. What is it about the Gen Y community that needs to have a different kind of software?
Yeah, so Gen Y is a very impatient generation. 30 seconds on a software platform that looks like business software and you've lost them.
Yeah.
So you have to have a very intuitive interface, but also part of our challenge was making this a game. We're trying to make work a game so that people are very engaged and want to collaborate. And so we've built in an incentive algorithm that actually as people contribute, they earn points through this system and then are paid a percentage of the final community pool based on those points.
Right.
So you're really targeting this community and looking at other demographics as well. When you're looking at work in the digital space and looking outside of your own walls as a company, you really need to make work a game in order to get really valuable contributions.
Okay. That's something that resonated with me when I first saw you and we were talking about this. And what occurred to me was Gen Ys are referred to as digital natives. You grew up with the internet, and in fact, what you grew up with on the internet was games. And your particular generation, these were not character-based games like we had in the 80s. I mean, these were fairly sophisticated games with fairly sophisticated reward and incentive systems. So what you're saying is that you sort of taken that as a starting point, knowing, as you were saying, that it would be low-hanging fruit, that you could get really smart people that are young, that have a lot of different talents in different areas, but short attention spans. You're going to need to bring something to them that sort of feeds this, I'm willing to do it, but do it quickly, and what am I going to get from it?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And they need to see that, that reward for their contributions in real time.
Yeah.
And one of the things, when we set out on building this business, that we really wanted to redefine was how people are rewarded for their work. There's a lot of open innovation companies where it's a winner-take-all model. 3,000 people participate, share their ideas, etc., and then there's one or there's three winners. That's not a way to really sustain communities. So part of our mission has been, how do we really incent collaboration so that people aren't necessarily competing, but they're working together to land on the best solution, not just 1,000 fragments of solutions that you have to pick through and find, which one your company thinks is best.
Yeah, I noticed that. I logged on one of the communities that was, I think it was a car seat.
Yeah.
And it's okay to mention that in general.
Yeah.
It was a car seat, and there were lots of people contributing, and I remember also I read the terms and conditions, when I signed on. It was uniquely different than most because you had to deal with intellectual property contributions, and I thought, wow, that must have taken a while.
Yeah.
But anyway, I could clearly see that if you participate, you have an opportunity to earn some money out of it, and I think that's really, really a good thing. So back on this topic of it being somewhat more specialized, then from a sales point of view, I suppose you're up against a situation where you're talking to a company about using this, if they want to use it internally, and they're saying, but I already have SharePoint, or I've already invested in Jive. Are you seeing that, or is that a difficult issue for you? Or
Yeah, a lot of companies will categorize us with some of those idea platforms where you can collect ideas.
Right.
The point for us is those are kind of idea submission boxes.
Right.
And they're great for capturing those high level, sort of the mouth of the funnel ideas.
Great way to say that. Yeah.
But when you want to take those ideas to actual businesses, and when you want to build market viable products out of those ideas, then our platform really comes into play.
Can you give me any examples that where you've actually made this work out yet?
Yeah, so we have several examples. One of the projects we're working on right now is on simplifying child safety in automobiles. And it's one of those projects where you think of trying to get an external community involved in that, and it just sounds daunting.
It does.
But within the first week, we've had incredible participation. And I think that project specifically shows the beauty of trying to tap into a diversity of different intellectual expertise areas. We have doctors on the platform who are going through PubMed research and bringing in injury reports, etc. Industrial designers synthesizing that information into how that could impact the actual design of car seats.
Yeah.
You have moms talking about how frustrating it is to to put these in, and how hard they are to install. So I think it's a perfect example of how just reaching out to a global community can really fuel the innovation process. And in a transactional system, that type of collaboration can't happen. But for us, that's really where the magic is produced. So that project isn't complete yet, but we're really excited about the results so far.
Yeah, I saw last night it actually transitioned to the next phase.
Yeah. We just finished the research phase, so that was tapping into the community to kind of scour the internet to understand, what exists today, what materials and technologies could impact this industry, what the experience is like for moms and babysitters, et cetera. And now we'll synthesize that information into a few key themes, which we're taking into this ideation phase. So then it's tapping into this community to create designs and ideas to solve the problems we've identified.
I just like the fact that I was notified, even though I hadn't participated yet, I was kept appraised of the status of the project. Mm-hmm. It's like I've been asked to participate on things, and it's sort of like these questionnaires you get on the web. Fill out this questionnaire for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, why?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to take a half an hour to fill this thing out for you, and what will I know are the results? Well, there'll be one person that'll get a $100 reward out of it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I don't really feel enrolled yet,
Yeah.
And this particular approach you have seems to work well in that sense.
Yeah, exactly, because just filling out a survey, it's kind of a mindless activity. And so as a company, if you watch some of these people fill out surveys, you'd be horrified. Because they're just, it's just like, let's get through this as fast as I can. But our platform, it's amazing to listen to community members and just how intellectually stimulating the conversation is.
Yeah.
They really go out of their way to find research and get really involved in these topics, even if they aren't a mom with a baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really interesting from that point of view. And then, we've built the tool, obviously, when you're in it, to be a game-like environment, but to really have those touch points with your daily life, so through email, et cetera, to keep you apprised of, what's going on, where's the conversation led. Because, if you think that someone's going to keep logging on every day and checking in, you have another thing coming.
Yeah,
You have to reach out where people are. So.
Yeah. Last question here for you, Riley. What would you tell the CIO if you were approaching a CIO on this in an enterprise? What would be your pitch?
So I think would quickly go through the ABCs of CIO pitching. So it's a turnkey solution.
Yeah.
There's obviously cost savings. We're continuously updating this
Versus them having to hire a bunch of guys.
Exactly. So there's that argument, but I think the really powerful argument is that the technology is pretty minimal. It's not really the magic of the system. A lot of our learnings, a lot of the brilliance in the system is in the incentive models, the organizational behavior around incenting people to collaborate around innovation. Mm-hmm. And that's something that's very hard to recreate within an organization.
Yeah.
We tried to do that within the organization we were at previously. And it's when you're dealing with hierarchies, et cetera, it's difficult to really tap into an open innovation model and build it yourself. So there's huge advantages to going outside and leveraging vendors who have been through those learning curves.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was just fascinating. Okay.